another Fireside Chat. I believe this is episode 21. Today we have a little different thing. We're supposed to get Justin here, creator of, well, not creator, but I guess he rebooted the Doom Trooper.
Yeah.
But he made the card game, so electronic card game. But he's not here for today. But instead, we have some special guests in Leonard, Alex, and we still also have Mr. Andrew Valkauskas. So, well, you guys can introduce yourself a little more. Go ahead, Mr. Andrew. Just kidding. Leonard, go first. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Leonard, and I've been part of this whole. I have been around since basically just before I think the proper printing of the second edition, the first time that the runic system was brought up. But at the very end, so I wasn't really like in the testing phase so much as I was in the like late beta where it was being marketed and shown and stuff like that for basically you were like prepping people for the launch. So I've been around the Fate of the Norns universe for a long time.
2013, right?
I think so, yeah. 2012 or 2013. Yeah, so it's been a nice chunk. Was very active in the testing for Denizens in particular, as well as like a little bit of the other stuff following soon. But Denizens was definitely the one where I was the most part of it. Testing
Druid
all
was
of that.
too weak, right? We needed to buff up the Druid.
Yeah. I just want it to be known to all of your fans that my petition to have the class removed from the game is still live, and any and all support is appreciated because of the mechanics that were removed from the game, and I mean, out of spite, I want the rest of it gone too. But yeah, and we've been to cons together. To people who are long-term fans, they've probably seen me if it was any of the Montreal cons. I've also was at one of the Carnage conventions, and I'm usually the guy wearing like, I don't know, sometimes I was cosplaying or not, but I'm usually helping out with the hammer. That was a lot of fun, or in sales. So I was less in the game room when we were split, because I love selling like the product. It was a lot of fun to help out and be part of the sales team for the books. Yeah,
Nice.
so that's me.
Awesome. I thought you were going to keep your sales voice throughout the whole thing.
You want me to
started,
keep
you dropped it so quick.
YouTube/sale voice.
Do you want me to do my YouTube voice? I can do it. I don't have one. But...
Well, no, we'll do that when we start talking about the stories of our conventions together.
All right,
That's always fun.
So yeah, so how I came to be part of the Fate of the Norns adventure was basically I discovered the game at Comic-Con, or I think it was a Talkathon, and it swiped my entire weekend. I spent my entire weekend playing games with Andrew over and over again. I would play through Fafnir's Treasure, play through all the early adventures with one of my buddies, and I just completely fell in love, head over heels with the game. I loved the runic system. I thought it was so intuitive, and it made playing so much more fun, and so much more narrative. Anyways, so yeah, and then one thing led to another, and I started getting involved in beta testing for Denizens, which was also tons of fun. I remember a lot of hijinks going on with trying to break the game, and Leonard not liking it, and Leonard trying to break the game.
Don't misunderstand. I loved all of it. I didn't.
Alex was the Fardrengir with the traps in front of him.
I hated one mechanic. But I loved the rest of it. Don't get
the creeping Alkas.
That's the creeping
Alkas.
With Gloom.
Yeah,
blooming creeping Alka.
Jeez, the board was full of Alkas. It was just like chaos on the board, and nobody can move. It was just like it was hell on wheels. So yeah, and then I got involved in a lot of cons. I showed up at Gen Con, had a few tables there, and then I was mainly Norning. I was not so much. I did a little sales, but I was more interested in showing people the game that I loved. So yeah, I did that. I did Comic-Con once or twice. I did a Talkathon as many times as I could, and then life took me away from this universe, and now I'm back. So it's tons of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it.
I think the best part about that is that we've all known each other since almost like the beginning of conventions. I think Andrew did one convention solo, and then like the year after, they brought like a whole bunch of us, and it's great to see. Like, although we haven't done all the conventions together, but I've known Leonard probably the longest here, and we're all from Montreal. If for those who did not know, that's why we all were able to do all these conventions. And my earliest memories of you guys is Carnage. I think we did Carnage all
yeah.
four of us.
That was definitely the first.
That was insane.
All of us in the car, getting lost in conversation, missing our exits, the off ramps off the highway.
Twice.
Yeah,
If I remember,
by quite a bit.
We missed it, and then we U-turned, if you'll remember, and we missed it again. So
Also, we left with a whole bunch of loot in the back with the back door open.
Oh shoot! Yes.
Oh, I
Remember
forgot.
that?
Yeah.
That was insane.
We were going to I think your friend's house. Wasn't in like
In Vermont.
Barrie?
Nick's
Yeah,
place.
Barrie, right?
Yeah. And the hatch didn't close fully, and there's everything open. The boxes just started falling out onto the street. Just Viking loot for everyone.
Yeah. We were
Exactly.
like, wait, what's and that was like your van. You still have that van.
And I
It's a
still
van
have
where
that problem with that stupid. Anyone who has a freaking Honda Odyssey, that damn handle, it seizes. You got to keep bringing it back to the garage, get it oiled every like year.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a crazy experience because I think back then we were in like this small place, right? We weren't at the we weren't at the hall yet, right? We were in like this.
Well, they've
Were we at the
moved.
hall?
They've moved. Now they're in like southern Vermont.
No, yeah, but I'm talking about like when we went, all four of us. Were we in a small hotel?
Two
attached?
hotels. It
No,
was
it was two attached hotels. Yeah.
two hotels.
It
Because
wasn't
one
the
you
one-
had to, the sales you had to walk a decent distance to, and then the hall where we played was the one that had like
Yeah.
the huge
Oh yeah, yeah.
cafeteria and
The
Yeah.
ski lodge.
The
Yeah,
ski
the ski
lodge.
lodge.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that the first year we all went together, we didn't stay at that hotel. We were at a hotel down the hill, right? If I remember correctly.
I think
That
so,
was-
maybe.
yeah.
Or it was connected. I think I
No, it was connected.
feel like it was connected because I don't think that we would have survived the trek to
Yeah, I think it
The
was
ski lodge?
connected.
because we would get there at like to prep and set up by like 8. So that meant
tops.
Andrew and I were probably like 8 a.m. So we're probably like tipsy / like sorry.
Yes.
What do you mean we never drink at
We're
conventions?
very
Jeez.
tired by then, and then because I remember distinctly being sent on a coffee run back to the room to refill. And,
Oh,
that was like
Oh,
at
yeah.
9. That was at like 9:30 or
Yeah.
10.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
In the
Alex
morning.
and
Yeah,
Alex and
yeah.
Andrew were running games in the morning. It's me and Leonard at the booth. We were both at the booth, so that was pretty good. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, I think
And
it was
then-
at the
Yeah, that's-
resort. I think you're thinking about the year before.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would
the
have
year
been
before.
the
Yeah.
2012 November show, which I think it
Yeah.
was you and Felix at the
Yeah.
that little tiny
Yeah, the
place
Beaver
down
or
the
something.
road.
Oh,
Yeah. That
I wasn't sure
that
if
was the year
that was
before.
it. Okay, yeah, you guys were lucky. You guys didn't have to go in that small shack and then drive all the way up. You guys got to stay in the room and walk down, and there was like a Starbucks right above. So we actually would go for coffee runs too, right? We would actually generally be like, "Oh, we're kind of tired. It's like 12. Let's go get some coffee." And one of us would just go buy coffee and come back down. But
Oh yeah.
it was fun. We need to go back for sure. Maybe do
Oh,
a
yeah,
reunion,
me too.
Andrew, reunion of us four going back. You know,
Yeah,
that'd be
And it
That'd be
was
sick.
such a nice place because it was like a ski resort nestled in the mountains. Every single time we went, I think there was maybe one exception. It snowed. It was like the first snowfall of the year too,
Yeah.
and it was a
we
dumping
got some
usually.
snow.
Like you'd get like a foot or two. And
That's exactly
that
it.
set the mood for.
When we went, when Alex and I were there with you guys, the first night it didn't snow. And so there was a lot of like, we might be able to just like walk around. And then like it just
Boom!
Oh yeah.
whomp.
Yeah, Andrew was
Oh, yeah.
super disappointed. He was just like, "It usually snows. What the heck?" And then that night we got so much snow.
It was great for me because I actually got to take advantage of like the resort because Andrew and I'm not sure if Alex also, you guys were running games till like midnight.
Yeah.
So I would go to the pool. Our lodges, our thing closed, and I just go to the pool. It was a heated outdoor pool. It was fantastic. You guys didn't get to
You know,
I-
we didn't get that. We were actually working off, you know, working our ass off.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was enjoying my time. I did my sales. I did my sales. We made some good money, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to relax in the pool, have a beer. That was kind of illegal. I
Well,
mean, cut
that's
that
see
out.
you got time off. See, you
Yeah,
say that like so Alex and Andrew would play games until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and my job was to infiltrate every other gaming group or circle and get and secure players for future demo timelines and demo runs or like pitch. So I that was really funny. You guys might remember this, but they had like a huge Legend of the Five Rings tournament and a huge Doomstown Reloaded, the cowboy one.
Okay.
Uh, and I became friends with the judge of the Doomstown one, and there were like limited edition playmats, and I was like, "That one's so awesome!" And he's like, and it wasn't the one that the winners picked, so he came and gave it to me after, and then I think he bought a book, or I think he bought a set of runes, which is really funny because he was like totally sucked in, but I'm just sitting there like watching the finals of some like regionals or I don't even know, maybe nationals tournament. I don't know, it was a huge tournament. There were 80 players for both tournaments or something, maybe more.
Wow.
And I'm just seeing a completely clueless talking to people about Vikings while they're while they're like
They're trying to play their cowboy game.
yeah, exactly. My Japanese clans. And I'm like, did you know that Vikings
Vikings beat samurais or ninjas. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
and back then we didn't have much. We didn't have much product too, right? It was like core rulebook.
No, there was a
Fafnir.
lot of
Yeah,
hustle
Fafnir.
back then because no
Yeah.
one
Yeah, that was-
really
that was
knew the
it.
brand. Every time someone
Yeah.
came by, it was like, "What is this?" And then, like
Yeah.
years later, changed very quickly, which was like you start the pitch and they're like, "Oh yeah, we know who you are. Like, what's new?"
Exactly.
You know. But back
What's the
then,
new-
it was
exactly,
like,
what's the new stuff? And
Yeah.
then they just and like that was always encouraging.
Yeah.
The dedication of the fan base is beautiful with this kind of stuff because you know that fans of indie or like smaller company stuff, they tend to have this kind of like you hear about it, this kind of brand loyalty kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But to witness it and to be on the other side of it, like seeing how excited people are to see you again at these events,
Yeah.
that was super encouraging. That was always really
I remember
was-
that on that point, Leonard. I remember this father and daughter duo that was at Carnage the first year we went, and they had such a blast. I've rarely seen players get into Viking mindset that much, and it was insane. They were one of the best pairs I've had on my table ever. And the next year, they come up to me in full Viking gear,
Oh.
head to toe, ready to roll with all their books and everything. And they're like, "Okay, so what's new this year?" And I think that's the year that Denizens came out. So then I pitched them Denizens, and then they lost their marbles. It was so fun. These two were completely crazy.
well, "That's
What I
awesome."
love, like before when they'd be like, oh, what? All right, what do you have? Let me buy. They'll buy a book. They buy maybe 1 or 2 set of runes, maybe Fafnir. Now it's like, what do I want? They go like core rule book, Denizen, then Edda, 3 sets of runes. They'll buy a Vanguard. They'll buy like $400 worth of stuff, and you'll be like, I did not expect that.
Yeah.
And that is so much. Like it's just crazy. We had 3 products, maybe 5 at most, including the runes and the books.
Two at
No,
the
but I feel
first. No,
I
at
think,
the-
yeah.
hold on. So when you guys went,
I'm
that was
including
the
the runes
third
and stuff.
Carnage, I think. That was the third
'cause-
Carnage.
Well, the first Carnage, you didn't have a booth.
I didn't have a
You were
booth, and I
yeah.
only had the 1993 reprints. It was 2012 Carnage that I went to. No, 2011 Carnage that I went to alone with the original FOTN reprint of the 1993 book. And like no one knew what was going on. Like I just had like a beta prototype with me. The following year, I think we had the Fafnir's Treasure and the core rule book.
Yeah.
And then the
that was
third
it.
year was it was Denizens, Fafnir's, and core.
Yeah. But I was including like runes. Like we had
Yeah.
some wood runes. We had I don't know if we had novels yet. I don't think so. But
We didn't
had
have wood
we had-
runes. We didn't have.
No,
we
had
had
runes.
we had
stone
metal.
runes. We had
Stone
stone
runes,
runes.
yeah. We had
if you
stone
remember
and
that.
metal.
Those were so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we had like only stone runes back in the day. I remember because it's the Kickstarter, right? And then later we like diverged into wood and metal runes. But originally
Yeah.
it was all those semi-precious stone runes, and so
I
that
remember
just like blew a lot of people's minds. They're like, "Wait, what? You don't use dice, and you use these like really gorgeous pieces of stone?"
Wait,
know-
Leonard, you still have a set. You have a set you can show real quick?
I have a whole bunch, and I was gonna ask before, and then we got distracted. I was like, "Do you want me to go get supplies?" So
Dude.
fine, I'll be back. Okay, jeez, I'll go get.
Alright.
Well, I noticed we've got Richard in chat who also
Yeah.
noticed that he remembers the growing days where people were like, they went from what is Fate of the Norns to, hey, what's new? You know, like,
Yeah.
we know what you had last year. Just show me the new stuff now.
Yeah, and Richard's a
Yeah.
great salesperson. And Richard came like a little, not behind, but after most of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for him to like, but he's been a fan for a while. Like he came the year before, he was a fan, and he came to our booth, and he's like, "Let me help you guys sell stuff." And he's been such a great addition to the team. Like it is fantastic. So phenomenal job. But yeah, that first year, it's just I just think Carnage is so fun because afterwards I'll go back to our room and we just I want to say drink, but let's say we
We had
enjoy
a lot of
our,
apple juice.
yeah,
But
we enjoy each other's company during that time.
But I have
But
to
yeah.
That makes it
give.
sound weird.
Oh man,
But
But
Alex, in terms
go
of the game design and the game testing, I think you were the one that coined the phrase "one rune, one verb." Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I have
that's
used
exactly
it
right.
ever since. That was just
That-
such a succinct way of putting the rules. I remember we were driving, and I was pretty sure, like 95% sure, it was you that said it, and I wanted to confirm tonight. There's like
Yep, that was
you
me.
said, I love the elegance of the system. Someone describes what they do, and for every verb they use, it's one rune. And I just went, wow! I couldn't put it better myself. I turned and said, that's pure gold.
wait,
And-
Alex,
I was-
you're a teacher too, right?
Yep, exactly. I teach
Leave-
high school.
Leave it to the teacher to figure that out. Am I right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
when
but
you
I still-
read the third RGS, you're gonna find those words in there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yep.
I was not aware of that.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see that.
So
Yeah, so it was good times, and it's all because of my students because I was playing the game with my students because I loved it that much, and I was trying to get them to learn new vocabulary words, and so they won by knowing a lot more verbs than the other people because they could use verbs like bull rush and all these verbs that are compound verbs, and it made them that much more efficient. Of course, we had a few verbs that we'd had to ban because I had a kid go, so in my turn, I'm going to build a boat, and he pushed one rune for it, and I was like, you can't. Yeah, okay, so that's a verb, but you can't build a boat in 6 seconds,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was
that was
fun
pretty
times.
sneaky. Yeah.
I'm super happy
You
that they-
you can if you use enough.
Runes.
You use
Runes?
enough runes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really stoked that made it into RGS3.
No, it's stuck around ever since because I'd never heard someone put it so eloquently, so succinctly. Like it was just there's no fat on that. It's like a comedian says, you trim down a joke down to its essence, but if you take out any more words, you lose the essence of the joke. It's just like the way you brought it down, the essence of the runic system. It's just one verb, one rune, boom, done.
Yep.
I think I use that for my pitches too, as well. When I'm pitching like the game, like, oh, how does the runes work? I'm like, oh, think of it this way: one rune, one verb, one action, whatever you want. So it makes it so convenient too. That
And I
was
mean, it's pretty universally applicable unless you're Norm Macdonald, right? So it works.
There
But
we go.
so these are the wooden ones,
Yeah.
and these three in particular are my favorite of the runic symbols. And like sometimes I would like some of them are like different inks because they're from like different times, like because I remember having some of the first ones, and then I also have a
Hear
set
metal.
of metal.
I hear the metal,
You hear the
original metal.
ones.
Yeah.
The old. Oh,
Oh, man, I still have those kicking around somewhere in my
Yeah.
Mhm.
in my stuff.
yeah, like this.
Yeah,
And
nice.
we have all these
Oh yeah, the
It was
bright
really
green,
fun
the
because
first
they're-
manufacturing run with the bright green.
super bright lime
Mhm.
green. Yeah.
Yeah,
And these are the ones that have the super nice. I don't know if the new ones do.
They
The
do.
super nice. They do perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's really nice. The outline and then the backing is really good. And then the last one, I think I have the last of the very short print run of the yellow.
Yeah.
Oh,
Did they chip?
the candy ones.
No, mine have not. They've not
Yeah.
shipped. I have a set of Blackstone ones as well, and I think those were the first versions as well.
Yeah.
And I think one of those chipped from like just tons of abuse. But these ones have held up like
Nope.
super well. They look fantastic. They feel great. And
These were, I think, Generation 3. So
Yeah.
if we looked at
Yeah.
it, we had Agate Black and White first generation. The white
Yeah.
ones really chipped badly. The black ones not so much. Second generation was the Howlite, the gray ones, and then third generation, third generation was these. I can't remember the name of the stone, and I think there's already like a bidding war in chat for your runes. So yeah, there's going to be you can run an auction during this Twitch stream.
no,
runes.
these ones are relics for me as well. Like
Yeah, you can't sell
it's
those.
it's so much fun having. Like I said, I have a black set somewhere too, but I couldn't find it
Let me
in
see if we
time.
got him.
I even have the original old. I don't know if these are still like part of it, but like the old black
the original dice
felt,
bags.
the old felt bags are really like
Yeah.
also pretty abused, as you can tell. It's like, yeah, this says Ragnarok, except it looks like Sanskrit now, but yeah,
Hey, Andrew,
but it's
you want
fun.
wait, what was it? Andrew, you want to sneak peek the new metal runes or no?
The box, they look the same. We're using the same mold.
Okay,
No, but the box I'm talking about.
Oh, the
Do you want to
box.
sneak peek that or no?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've shown it on previous streams, but if no one's
Yeah.
tuned in for the other ones,
But we're talking about runes right now. Might as well talk about them now.
Yeah.
For those who know, the wood runes did get remade as well. The newer runes are completely different from the old wood runes, and then you can see
that's
what he's
cool.
holding down right now. Cool thing
Yeah.
about that is that it's not just the runes; it's a game now. He also added, I believe, the diviner in there.
Yep.
And it's so you can play with that as well, and it has a whole box, and it's very similar. It still has that pouch inside and the metal stuff inside.
yeah. So you get a
Now it's
pouch, and you get a pocket-sized diviner. So it's not full 8.5 by 11. It's more like a novel-sized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a
Nice.
lot easier for stores to carry, since it's going to like for us to ship those out is fantastic. Just put them in boxes. So that's
Through
great.
old
By the way,
boxes.
fun fact. Not Aaron. Sorry, I was gonna say Leonard was my first Norn for back in the day. I don't know if you remember that. Remember how many people we had in that group?
Oh, I remember. It was also my first D&D game. Like, and that's the thing. It's like, oh, we're not even doing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, this was my first role-playing game as a DM. So not only that, it was also Fate of the Norns, and I think we were 10 players that went down to 8
Yeah.
like 6 months in. 2 players. One moved away and
That's
one wasn't
crazy.
able to show up anymore.
Yep. How long
Oh,
did
yeah.
I think we played for 6 months to move not even an hour in the campaign.
Here we go.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there you go.
White
Oh,
agate.
nice.
Yeah.
Let me
The
crack
white
this
one.
open.
I
let-
loved those. Those were the ones that like I remember because I wanted the white ones and then they weren't available anymore. And then I saw the yellow ones and I
Yeah, it's
jumped
gonna
on
go out of
those.
focus when it gets close. Mine doesn't focus, so
You got to do this hand thing that
Yeah.
Leonard did.
Yeah,
no.
they had.
I don't think with this camera it autofocuses. Ken?
Oh, you're,
No, I
on, you're
won't.
on manual focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
You know what, Andrew? Just remind me next time that I come over to set that autofocus, but also to grab some of those rooms. Casually gonna put it out there. Grab some of those rooms and take them back with me. You know, is that the black one?
agate.
Yeah, there you go.
I want the
yeah.
black one. Sorry, Andrew.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got the
Yeah.
white, the black, and then here comes Generation 2. We got the Howlite. And these guys were tumbled. So it was really nice.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It's
very
like
nice.
it's like
Yeah.
gray black marble.
Those ones were so nice too. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's so funny that it's like even amidst us because it started small in that sense, right? Like the print runs were not huge, so it was like
Here's the caramel ones.
Oh,
I gotta
yeah,
figure out
that's
what those
one,
are. I'm gonna
Yeah.
check my emails. We still have those emails with the manufacturers.
Yeah, but it was fun because it was kind of funny because they were in such high demand
Mm-hmm.
that despite being part of like your crew for cons and events, we had to like
we didn't
not
have any.
use the runes so that we could like let other people have it. So we were still
Yeah.
playing with.
Well,
like,
we bought it from Gamers, right? We bought it from Gamers World, so
Yeah.
it's always
I've
so
sent
nice.
I remember Yeah, I remember Andrew selling his book, his own personal
Oh,
book at a
yeah.
con.
I've sold so many of my personal books
Oh
and
my
rune
goodness.
sets and whatnot. That's why, like, I don't even know if I have a full set of any of those. Check out this guy.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that's a big stone. By the way, Rich.
This was a marble that I was trying out, and it just was not good. It was a prototype,
heavy.
and they were too big. These were huge. Look at the size of
Those
this
are
thing.
the ones that I played with in my demo game. I remember that now because they were huge.
Yeah.
And so that rings a bell because those were the ones I think that you lent to Brad to demo for like myself and Dan and I think like Guillaume. And it was like a super tiny group, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so we actually had a question in chat asking if the box is bigger than the wood box. Yes, the metal rune box is going to be bigger than the wood one.
You put them
I feel-
side by side for
Yeah.
comparison.
I want to say it is significantly bigger because it has to fit the diviner. So I believe I want to say probably close to 33% bigger, maybe even more than that. Yeah.
There you go. That's your comparison right there,
So yeah.
side by side.
Yeah. Speaking of runes, I don't know if you remember, Andrew, that guy who came in with hand-carved bone runes.
Oh yeah, the he had bare knuckle runes.
Yeah,
He had burnt on with a soldering iron the runes on bare knuckles. Yeah, those were wicked. I haven't forgotten those.
That was
No.
crazy.
There was someone who also had like bird bone runes, like from some. I think they were supposed to be used for casting lots, but like for some totally different concept. And then they had carved in all of the Norse runes in those. I thought that was pretty awesome too. Like
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
people got creative. And that was fun. And then there was also like Connor. Shout out to Connor's paper runes.
Our friend Isabel used to make like multiple runes, right?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
used to make like wood runes.
She made runes using. She did a set, I think, with bottle caps.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, that was cool. No, yeah,
On
like
the pins,
Yeah,
the Ragnarok pins. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't laugh because I started out with pennies. We ended up painting the runes on pennies. That was the very, very first like official prototype that we had. Was penny runes, so they were worth 24 cents.
Yeah,
beautiful.
beautiful, simple and elegant.
Now we have an app. The app is super convenient.
do
for a lot
have
of
an
people.
app.
Super great too. Yeah.
Did we release a second version of that?
Yeah, we
Or we're
did.
still working? Yeah,
We did. It has the new playmats too. I can show those too. And now that we're like going through all memory lane
cool.
of the runes and the playmats. Where the heck is the app?
I have so many like laminated and like everything is done up nicely for conventions and for constant reuse that I don't use the apps out of like sheer denial. It's like, no, I put too much effort into this to then do the easy way of the app. I
Yeah.
want it will be tactile.
Yeah, I do it just out of
I don't know if you can
nostalgia.
see this. So right now it launches into: do you want the core rulebook or do you want children of use? Are you running RGS2 playmats or RGS3 playmats?
Oh, that's
So let's say we go to RGS3 playmats. Then it says, which one are you going to be using? Are you going to be using the one that has like 1, 2, or 3, like the difficulty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to see all of them on there.
The tracks, you won't
Exactly.
show
You
them
don't
all.
need to see all the tracks.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And so, yeah, I got to fix the autofocus. Is there any way to set it in Discord, the autofocus, or that's like in the driver for the Canon?
It's your camera. There might be a switch.
Because it is
that's
on
like-
autofocus instead of MF.
Oh,
It's
is
on
it?
AF, yeah.
Is it? Oh, okay, but is it on face autofocus? Because your camera is a little older, so it might not have the full autofocus.
It's an antique. It's got
Range.
this accordion thing that needs to come out.
Yeah, with the explosion of like, what is it? It's like sulfur. It's like
Exactly.
blow it.
Got a magnesium flash that goes off every so often.
And then you have to sit there and wait for 6 hours. The whole stream is you in just neutral face.
It's like, is his screen frozen? No, he's just not moving.
We're taking a picture, guys.
Oh my god, that's
so
that's great. So let's go back to the beta testing. So I remember, Alex, you were playing the Fardrengar, and I remember you were tossing a bunch of traps around you and just waiting for people to run at you. And I remember one night it was just no one was biting. They were like, let's just fight amongst ourselves and leave Alex in
Yeah.
the corner.
Exactly. I was just sitting there trying to, hey, come
You're
on,
like,
come on,
you
no,
also
never.
had a crossbow, and that's how you were trying to goad people. You're like plinking or
Yeah,
something like.
exactly.
Just doing
And that
ricochet
never.
shots through people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun. Oh, those are the memories. I remember also. I don't know. I don't. Let me think of some stories that were really cool. I wasn't much of a power gamer, so I really enjoyed a lot more of the I'm
Narrative.
having trouble with this word. Narrative play. But yeah, Fire Drinking was by far the most fun I've had. I also learned the hard way that taunting in a crowded tavern wasn't a good idea because yes, players are going to attack you, but NPCs are also going to attack you, and even NPCs for Viking NPCs are still really dangerous. So yeah, no part of the beta testing. I don't. There's not a lot of like specific moments that I remember as clearly as just sitting in the corner of the room trying to get people to be annoyed enough with me to step into my traps.
Now, there was
That
another
was
one that I remembered, which was I can't remember who the two berserkers were, but I think Leonard, you were one of the two berserkers.
I think I was either a berserker or a Ulfenar for every beta test where you didn't specifically ask me to do a
Because
class.
we had two ragers, so it might have been one Ulfidnar, one berserker, and then we
Perhaps
had
even, yeah.
someone that was running a super big heal build, and both ragers wanted a lot of runes in their damage track, and both ragers turned to the healer and said, "Don't heal us." And when it got to the healer's turn, the healer went, "Oh, I got my heal, heal, area, amplify, amplify, amplify. You're all healed to max." And the two ragers are like, "What did we tell you?" And then he's, "Don't do it
about to
again."
be injured.
Next
Do you
turn,
it
he goes,
it was,
"Oh, I got an even better one." You
it
know,
was Aaron who was healing.
yes,
Yep,
and
that's
and
Aaron's
they're
style.
both like, "Last warning, you just healed us again to full. Don't do that again." And then he did it again, and then it was just like someone said, "I pick up a cart and I just smash it over the healer's head."
Yeah, that was me. I
That was
picked up the
Leonard.
cart that he was in, and I smashed him like the Hulk with Loki thing, and I killed him. So that was fun. Yeah, he got so many warnings.
He did it.
Well, yeah,
I remember.
I had to get other players to hurt me I had to set myself on fire to not heal well. I was
yeah.
miserable.
So for those
That was
watching,
crazy.
That's so funny.
explain
Yeah.
to those watching how rage works here for you.
So rage was I mean it still is a mechanic where the idea is the more damage you take, the way the rune system works is as you take damage, it's kind of like you think of it sort of like a boxer or a UFC fighter. The more they're getting wailed on, the less variety in moves they end up using, and it's mostly because they're their heads getting knocked in, they're bleeding all over the place, everything hurts, so their moves become more simplistic, but they become much more dedicated because all they have left is like, well, all he knows is that his right hook is gonna hurt him. So the same mentality kind of applies to how rage worked on players, where the more you got beaten up, the less runes you had access to, but all of your attacks were amplified significantly by
Yeah.
by the amount, and it was a kind of like a curve on how much damage you do relative to how much damage you had already taken, and it also made you harder to finish off. So the best way to kill a berserker was you had to go for the head, and if you didn't do it, it was like good luck, like you had
Yeah.
nothing. So that was a lot of fun too. But so then when you're trying to take gradual damage and your opponents are making the mistake of thinking, oh, we'll just whittle him down, that's like the dream scenario. But then when your healer's like, oh man, you look injured, let me help you out, buddy, and you're like, no, I was going to do hundreds of points of damage, I was going to do 100. It's like, no man, now you're at full health. It's like, all right, well now I do 4 points of damage. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
that's it. I
Yeah.
remember at this one game. I don't know if Andrew was there at that time, but we were fighting Ulfednars, and we had one of our players heal them all the time. So we would wail on them and then not kill them. So instead of receiving what we dealt, we'd have our healer heal him up, so he was fine. But on that same game, I think I was playing an Ulfednar, and I was on fire because I didn't want to heal properly. And so I realized that if this keeps going, I'm gonna die from the fire. So to put myself out, I remember ripping into an enemy and dousing myself with its innards, and that was as I described this scene, the people at the table are like, "Can you just have rolled into the snow?" And I remember thinking,
Not as epic.
not as epic, and it doesn't tell as good of a story. And I hoped that when that character died, I would get that story to try to get to ascend to Asgard, not Asgard, to
Valhalla.
Valhalla. Thank you. Yeah. So that wasn't a long term game though. It was we were actually trying to finish one of the campaigns.
See, you played in full campaigns. I was aside of from the one game that I ran for a while with Ken and a bunch of other players. I've basically almost explicitly been playing in short campaigns or one shots for the purposes of either beta testing or just for having fun for an evening too.
Yeah.
So all of my builds were much more like bizarre and outrageous and never as natural. So I think like my favorite like breaking the rules using technicalities was responding to someone's like devastating attack by turning myself into a non-combat fish, so I can't be affected by damage because I'm not a combat.
Wait,
I
were
was
you
no
a
longer a
druid?
combatant.
Were you
Yeah.
playing a druid?
Yeah, you made me, so I played the most frustrating combat thing ever. I became a non-combatant that could turn back into a combatant as I felt like. And it was like, all right, on my turn, I'm allowed to hit people and I'm allowed to take damage, and then I'm a fish again. Just because all I was trying to do was sabotage that build because I think I was the first person to see how broken some of the mechanics were in the beginning. Eventually, the druid got taken down from more powerful than Odin to just really, really broken and strong. But the amount of damage that some people were doing with it and the amount of things that you could do with it, it was like, it felt like a mediocre druid was more powerful than the strongest wizards possible in other role-playing games for a while. It was like, yeah, I'm level 8, so I'm gonna rip a hole in the space-time continuum, and then I'm gonna like amplify the damage that you take as well as gravity. And then I'm going to make it in an area of effect trigger that as I run through procs more explosions that multiply the area of effect around you. So I just run around in a circle and then we all die. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what happened. So we like
I was
so
so
my
trying
goal-
to make the Alkas work. I was like the creeping Alkas, like basically
Yeah.
they crawl across
Oh my
the
gosh.
battlefield, and then they do bloom, and then they
Yeah.
AOE, and like but it didn't
Problem
work. It had to be
exactly.
nerfed and taken out of the game eventually, even completely. It couldn't even be nerfed.
But that was the thing. The mechanic was so cool and so fun, and it was intuitive, but it was so much more powerful than anything else. It was like, oh, I'll just play a druid.
Yeah.
I mean, I do more damage, and not even that. And it wasn't even that it wasn't like thematic. Like you were pulling in from the other realms, and there was a lot of like the idea of realm hopping was a huge part of it. The spiritual nature elements of the Viking myth were a huge part of it. So and you were also still like swinging and punching, so you weren't just like some long range character either. Like you still were a very thematic Viking, and I think that was what made it such a problem, is that it ended up doing everything. So that was
Exactly.
it was a lot of fun, but oof. I think the only other thing that I did that I was like so proud of that I wanted to make sure I brought up though, was when we were testing out berserkers, and there's an ability that lets you root yourself to the ground to gain like enormous buffs to everything, but you lose the ability to move. So I ripped up a chunk of the earth and I threw it, and I was faster than the chunk that I threw, so that I jumped onto it and then rooted myself to it in the air and crashed into a bunch of enemies and just murdered a whole village. But that was fun. So it doesn't say that the ground has to be attached to the rest of the ground, okay?
As long as you're attached to the ground can move.
Yeah.
That was kind of like Brad with his druid, where he was flying his little swallow, and then he noticed that there was a whole meeting of all the enemies together, bunched up in this one little like 10-foot radius, and he's like, "If I shape change into a bear, how big am I?" And I'm like, "I don't like where this is going." And he goes, "How high am I up by? What's the damage every 10 feet? Is there acceleration damage?" He shape change into a polar bear and just drop down on top of them from like 60 feet in the
He
air.
just sat on them and killed like that was fun. Yeah.
I've never actually beta test or anything. So for me, like I've never got to try these broken things. But I think the funniest thing I've done is like I go to Leonard, I'm like, "Leonard, I want to steal people's stuff with the handed tier."
Oh yeah.
I'm
That was
like, "Leonard,
miserable.
Leonard." I go, "Leonard," he goes, "I know."
Well, it was I wrote down all of the magical items on strips of paper, and then like Ken was so good at stealing them and making sure that no one knew that he was stealing them that from a meta narrative, the only reason people would know is because it was a game. So what would end up happening is that during combats and stuff like that, he'd be like, "Leonard, I used my turn to do the thing," and then I'd hand him a piece of paper that had like whatever magical items were around, and then he's like, "Okay, I want this one and this one." I'd be, "All right."
everyone at the end are like, "All right, we go check the body." Huh, Matt, there's nothing on the body.
Yeah, where's the
What?
ring that the necromancer thing had? It's like, oh, I don't know. And like Ken's just like putting it on top of other rings that he's been collecting.
Leonard goes to me, like the campaign's like, it's not over, but we haven't done it. He's like, "Hey, like basically you're technically looting the dead bodies. So like technically I was keeping track of that." I was like, "Oh, good thing I never died because that would have been really bad."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think you were at negative so much that it was like you would need another
Niflheim.
campaign of being a good person
Yeah.
to like
Niflheim
bring you
had the
back
red
to
carpet.
neutral. Yeah.
There was a
So-
parade waiting for you at Niflheim.
Oh yeah.
Like there
Exactly.
was a seat right next to Hell. You were sitting on her lap, like
She was
No,
just like, "Hey, get over here, man."
They're like, "I'm a big fan of your work, man. Wow. Every single person you killed, you took their stuff." Big
Exactly.
fan.
That's what I was going to say. You didn't even take valuables. You just took stuff because that was all you cared about. It's like, oh, does he have a nice belt? It's like, no. It's like, oh, well, I'll take it anyways. Maybe I have a use for it.
I could probably sell it for, a bit of copper or something like that.
It was so funny.
Oh
It's
my
like,
gosh.
so
do
for
we
the-
have some rope? It's like, no, but I have all of these dudes' clothing, so maybe we can do something with that.
You can work something out.
just to put a context for those watching, there is an afterlife mechanic in Fate of the Norns Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And looting the dead is a huge taboo. You don't want to do that because what it's going to do is it's going to screw you when it's your time to die. So it's very deeply held belief that when you die, whatever you're buried with or whatever you die with is going to go into the afterlife with you. So even your enemies, you want to respect this taboo of keeping it on them. And so anytime you end up stealing from the dead, the GM or the Norn is going to mark it down because when you die and you've got a chance to get into the heavens, the Valkyries are going to come down and pick you up, bring you up to Valhalla. That chance diminishes every single time you loot a corpse. And so this is the funny thing of like Ken taking these penalties for just about anything. Like normally, if you're going to take a penalty, it better be really worth it. Like you're picking this up for like Graham, like Sigurd's sword or something. Not, a pair of like, well-worn boots.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like the way to counteract it is like after you die, it's not good deeds. It's good deeds that your teammates remembered and bothered talking about, like without prompts.
Because it's your funeral. You sit quietly at the table.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna give them advice. Like unless maybe they'll ask or they'll try to, read the fates, maybe to get a reminder, like a recap of some of the things that you've done. But you have to kind of, so it's like for every sock that Ken stole, he needed to then also like heroically dive into death's jaw and come out screaming and bloody, like every time.
For every sock,
but then it's like, well, you did it twice, and you took his sword, and like it was just a miserable. Oh, it's so funny.
At first, I did it. It was worth because the weapon I got was like it summoned a skeleton. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. But I just like I got addicted. I'm like, well, if I can get a skeleton without my teammates knowing,
Yeah.
What else can I get? I'm get all the rings, and I'm like, well, I'm already screwed now.
Yeah.
Might as well take
Might
his
as well, yeah.
dirty underwear. Might as well, you know.
It was pretty funny. That was that campaign because we were so many people. In order to keep people engaged, the only
Yeah.
way to keep people in like that many people that engaged, I figured, was either to have like really get them motivated for a higher purpose, or by making everything tempting. So I decided to go that route because we didn't know how long the campaign was going to go. So basically, I just made the opportunities to do bad things uh, appear often enough that they would be, and it made them enticing. So that would be the way that you'd get them motivated to like, oh, I want his staff. Like that's cool. Or like, you see a beautiful horn, ornate, beautiful, and you see the runes glowing in it, and then immediately the group goes into like, no, I want it. What are you talking about? I want it. I'm a bard, I want the horn. And everyone else like, no, but it looks strong. Is it strong? It's like, yeah, it's solidly built. It's like, I could probably kill someone with that. I want it. And that's just the whole group like in this Viking chieftains hall, like arguing over who wants to steal the artifact. Like,
And I already have it in my hands now. It's like, yeah, you guys keep arguing.
Strangely, you don't see the scepter in his hand anymore.
yeah.
Kent,
That's
what's
strange.
what's that in your pocket? Are you happy to see me?
Wasn't Ivan playing a Scythe Kona and abusing the rules because you didn't know them? He was amplifying.
Yeah.
He wasn't amplifying. He was
Okay.
adding focus to his possession, right? Which you're
Yeah.
not supposed to. Yeah.
So
But
the-
none of us
yeah.
do the rules, right? So like, yeah.
This was definitely like in the early. So this was
Yeah.
before Denizens,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then Denizens came out during this campaign. So the iron, like I said, this was my first game as a Norn. Like I'd been a player and stuff, but never taken on the challenge of DMing. And DMing for like 2 or 3 people is still like, I have nothing but respect for anyone who chooses to be the Norn or any of that. And I became the forever DM after that for most for pretty much all occasions. So I feel the pain. And so I forgot some of the core rulebook mechanics because we were spending so much time when I was playing as the player invested in the new mechanics, which were changing all the time. So I totally forgot about how the Scythe Kona works. And I was like, oh, I remember it being pretty strong. And it's like, I make everyone do what I want forever. It's like, oh,
All the time.
all right.
I remember when Connor gets, anytime Connor wanted to do anything, he goes, I want to Fates and Omens, please. It's basically like keyword for, I would like a hint, Leonard. Leonard, I need a hint.
Omen's importance.
Omens
yeah,
and
Omens
Omens,
important. Yeah. Omens
And-
important. Yeah.
It's not a hint. It's a hint in the form of poetry. Anyway,
Exactly.
so continue.
Did you break out
And
your
I would-
haiku?
Yeah. And eventually I did get lazy with them, as one does. So it's like, do I see anything? It's like, the moss is growing faster than you think it is. It's like, well, what does that mean? I was like, I don't know. I don't care anymore. Like, figure it out. Like,
Well, I think once we were not moving at all. Like we were like, and Leonard wanted us to progress. And Connor's like, all right, I'm gonna use the thing. He's like, okay. And Leonard's go, there's an arrow pointing that side. That means we should go the other way. And Leonard's like, what? There's an arrow.
you spent sorry, Alec. I'm sorry. I feel like I cut you off. But
Yeah,
we
go,
did
Alex.
we spent one
Oh.
6-hour session to do that, for them to then not follow the hint. All right, feel free
Follow
to
the hint, yeah.
now your turn.
Yeah, so I was just gonna add that I'm the Forever Norn in my group, and I loved whenever a player would try to like get hints from me with more, Omens importance, because I would, come up with the craziest stuff where there's this little tiny bit of thing that they had to pick up on. That was the actual hint, but that was like one of my favorite times. That and funerals. Funerals were just so much fun with my players. Because we actually had the funeral. We had drinks and we had food and then we told stories. It was a whole session. It was just a funeral for that character. But yeah, Almost Importance was so funny. It led to so many hijinks where my players would pick up on a little detail that I never meant to be a hint, but they were like, "That's it, I got it," and then they would fly into the wrong direction and have me just dump all of my my planning that I'd done.
Exactly.
As players often do. They
Well,
become,
Yeah.
that's
I
why
mean,
like planning too much is
yeah.
just not the way to go. I mean, Carnage ended up throwing me for the biggest loop of all time. When it comes to people asking me what is the wildest derailment of an adventure you've ever had, it happened at the very first Carnage. And one guy
Oh.
that's one of my patrons, Dave,
Mhm.
if he's watching, he chime in. But basically, I have that for Fafnir's Treasure. I've got this little like 2-minute intro of like Fimbulwinter, 930 AD. You guys are fleeing from the whole like kingdom battle in Norway. As you guys are crossing into Iceland, you guys get attacked by a kraken. It damages the ship, but you guys are heroes. You manage to drive it back into the depths to lick its wounds. And your dilapidated ship cannot make it to the west coast, so it has to like beach in the east, where there are very few settlements. And so this is kind of like just the setup, the 2 minutes of flavor. And as I'm finishing my 2 minutes of flavor, I look at my players and describe that they're kind of coming in on this unknown settlement and mysterious thing. They all look at each other, and one of them just slams the table down and goes, "We don't run from Kraken." And I'm like, "What?
Oh man.
What does that mean?" That meant they're doing a 180-degree turn. Forget the rest of the adventure. They're going back into my flavor text. And the next 4 hours is them hunting the Kraken from my flavor text of the intro. I was like, okay, discuss amongst yourselves what you're going to do. Well, I start writing up a Kraken behind the GM screen. So this was dinner time, right? So we ended up like ordering out dinner, and they brought dinner, and I had like a bunch of aluminum foil from people. I ended up creating a bunch of like tentacles and stuff. We used it like the boxes from the food to do the long ships. These guys had built 2 long ships. They had gone out to find out from the fishing people where the spawning beds were, where the baby Kraken are, so they could test out their weaponry on the baby Kraken first before they took on the mommy Kraken. And they had a decoy ship and a mate, like a regular ship, and they were going to swing between them depending on like which one was going to get attacked by the Kraken. And so like got 2 boxes, bunch of minis on them, bunch of tentacles coming off the hex grid. My next group that's there from the 7-11 to 11 group are standing around the table waiting to join. They're like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm like, don't worry, guys. Your adventure is going to be nothing like this.
Nothing like this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And derailment is a huge part of it. I think that's like you said, you plan too much and you're gonna get burned. Like my first sessions were so thoroughly planned out, and then by session like 8, I think I have like 3 bullet points, and like one of them is a question mark next to it, and you're like, maybe. Well, we'll see if we get there. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Andrew, also that group that had that seduced the final encounter of Fafnir's Treasure?
Yes, absolutely. That was
pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was a Gen Con. They basically ended up going, all right, so Omen's important. I think they did Omen's Importance. And they did lore personas. So they're like, okay, it's Ragnarok, Fimbulwinter. So it's been dark for a long time, and it's been cold. And you're telling me that there's river Rusalki that are guarding this treasure. Spoiler, if anyone was playing Fafnir's Treasure, like skip ahead right now. Do not like listen to the rest of it. So at least 2 minutes. So final bosses, River Rusalki. In the summer, they're like friendly and beautiful and happy. In the winter, they turn into these ferocious like monsters that want to kill you. And they're like, so these ladies have been in Fimbulwinter for the longest time. We have to give them a show. Like we have to like give them a happy time. They've been known nothing but like misery. This is like their dark time. So the bard ends up like playing some like really romantic Barry White music. Then the berserker like bares his chest, and he's like on the prow of the ship, like just glistening in like narwhal fat. And then the scythe kona's got like lighting going off, like disco music. They got a disco ball going on, and they just basically sail into the final encounter as like a strip club on a ship, basically seduce the final encounter. And I was like, go with this, like the most epic way to finish it, like final boss.
Yeah,
And it worked.
So good,
Yeah.
Of course it worked.
That was like the first Gen Con with this. It was the very first Gen Con when I brought Fafnir's Treasure there. Core rulebook wasn't out yet. Actually,
When
This
the
was 5 years.
yeah, Fafnir's
rulebook
wasn't
was a
even
bunch
out
of
yet. This was
papers.
Fafnir's was just a binder at that time, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Seduce the final encounter. This was the 11 p.m. to 3 a.m.
That's true.
Yeah.
Gen Con games were till late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Dang.
late.
Oh yeah. And the
Carnage
late games were
pretty
always
late
the best.
too. Otakuthon were late too, since they could be. So sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
but these late games are great because we would just bring ourselves a cup of a
Coffee.
liquid alcohol, liquid courage.
Quick courage.
Liquid courage. I said
Yeah.
liquid alcohol. Wait, what else is alcohol?
That's when you showed us how to iron a shirt, and
Oh,
then we
yes.
followed suit. I still use
Okay,
that.
someone's got to
video.
put that in the chat. That's such a good
I'll go
video.
find it.
Yeah.
I'll go find it because
Wow.
that
Put
is
it in chat.
I still use that video. It is incredible.
It's so
Oh,
funny.
that's wonderful.
That is
They're
how
like-
you cool your drink without watering it down.
Well,
Yeah.
because the way that
Gin
you did it was so
tonic.
funny. Because that's how the spark for this was you sitting there being like, "Oh, don't worry." I was like, "Do you need another can of ginger ale?" He was like, "What? No, this one's still full." And it's like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "Yeah." And then like that was it. That was your splash. Like
Don't forget the ice to cool it down.
you dip the ice in
Oh,
it.
yeah.
You don't want to dilute it. Yeah.
Oh no,
Let me find the video.
the crazy part of the video is like, and then you start ironing it, and he goes, chugs it, puts it down. All right, pour yourself another. I was like, bruh. Oh my goodness,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
We're
It's
gonna
just gin and tonics. I remember. I don't remember the con exactly, but I remember Andrew asking me. I think it was Gen Con. He goes, "Can you get me like a quadruple gin tonic?" So I show up at the bar, and I go, "Can I get a quadruple gin and tonic?" And the guy goes, "How many times do you want that?" I go quadruple. So he pulls out this huge glass and dunks like a good third of it full of gin, pours the tonic on top, and I don't remember how long it took Andrew, but it was not enough time for that much alcohol. But then again, he's got that Lithuanian. Jeez, that's a mouthful. He's got the genes to take all the alcohol.
There's a lot of talking at these cons. You got to keep those vocal cords lubricated.
Honestly,
It's
yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
And you
Stay
need to keep your
hydrated.
spirits up. I mean,
I do-
every other DM group at Carnage was tired and sleepy at 8 a.m. and we were already we were giggling and laughing and shouting at each other
Oh yeah.
like idiots. And it's
I
like
feed off my
8:50.
fans. I love it.
So
Like,
good.
so
But
It
they-
was so cool.
you
and then
guys,
they-
I have to bring you guys to GaryCon. So Carnage, was my favorite for the longest time. GaryCon dethroned Carnage.
Oh really?
Dethroned it. And this con, you're sitting around a table. It's a resort as well. It's a resort in Wisconsin.
Oh.
And-
Is Gary? Is this the Gary Gygax one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So it starts off
sorry,
like
I just wanted to.
The first
Yeah.
evening we show up, it's like Gary Gygax's family, basically runs like a pizza and beer evening meet and greet for like all the exhibitors and things like that. So everyone gets kind of just to know each other. And then the next night, it's I'm running demos, and we were too late to register for demo games. And I just talked to the organizer, like, you know what, just sit yourself down in the middle of a hallway under one of the lights there, put your banner there, and just call whoever you want. Like, just go for it. So, like, I plant myself in the middle of a hallway, banners down, and next thing I know, like, by 9:30 a.m., I've got a full table going on. Everything's going on. I'm like, getting a little peckish. I'm going to have to go take a break. They're like, oh, what are you talking about? You see those waitresses walking around the whole resort? You can get, like, food and drink delivered to your table. I'm like,
What?
wait, what? This is next level. This is
Yeah.
next level.
Well, that's some cool stuff.
So then,
All you need now is the catheter into the bag, so that you don't have to get it for any reason whatsoever.
so that was just like a huge selling point. But everyone there is so friendly. It's such a small family-based con, and they purposely refuse to leave. Like, it's the biggest venue in Lake Geneva, and that's where the family's based out of. And they refuse to leave, so it's basically a huge lineup of vendors. If you miss your spot, you're out. And the Saturday night, everyone's like, "Hey, come out to the mezzanine!" Like, they just saw me going by like for bathroom break, and they're like, "Come on out, we have culture night." I'm like, "What the hell's culture night?" And they're like, "Well, this is not an official sanctioned thing." They go, all the people from different states or provinces get together, and they bring drinks and food from their provinces or states and drop it on the table, and everyone just partakes. I'm like, that's just so sweet. Like, what is this? Like, this is crazy. I'm loving this. So the entire con's got this like really nice, laid back community vibe, and
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a
back
con that's
every year,
organized
man.
by Braggy.
By what?
Is that it? By Braggy. You know, Braggy provides.
Braggy provides.
Well, I mean, no one's gonna. Yeah, exactly. And no one's gonna out eat and out drink the fate of the Norns crew. I mean, come on.
Especially
Yeah.
not eat and drink. Like I got the eating, Andrew's got the drink, and Andrew.
But like, it's just so fun because like these kinds of groups are so fun, and these guys are so great. Like the guys and girls at these events are. They're all animals. It's
Oh,
tons of fun.
the seats never cool down. Like, I
Yeah.
ran games for 16 hours straight. The seats never emptied. Basically, there were people standing
yeah.
around watching. The moment someone said, "Oh shoot, I'm late for a game. I gotta go," like there's two people going like, "Do I sit? Do you sit?" Like, someone sits down, and away
Yeah.
we go. We just keep going. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Do I need to give you a tutorial?" They're like, "I've been here for an hour. I know exactly how this plays. Let's go."
Just watch. Yeah. Or like husbands getting yelled at by their wives or something like that at Comic-Con. They're like, are we going, like, they'll like show up and they'll be like, are we going to the whatever it is, like some
The
celebrity
panels or
the
something
panels.
like that. Yeah.
And then you just have the dad just sitting there and is like, oh yeah, I'll catch up. Okay, can I give you like one more round? Can I? And it's honestly, it's great. Like, I love it. And I think it's the I think that's always been the biggest selling point, is that the way that the game works is that it's like it's never been about the game or the mechanics. And though the mechanics really function to appease both uh, uh, narrative players and crunchy players, yes, with like all the combos that you can do, but there's a certain the additional element of control within the randomness that the runes provide, let people who really don't know anything about, not even role playing, they just want to,
Tell me what you want to do.
yeah. And it's more options than just rolling dice, because the rolling dice, it's like, what do you want to do? Roll dice. But the runes can also give you advice themselves, right? It's like, what are the abilities on the runes, and which ones do you have access to? So there's a sort of
Guidance.
there's exactly, like, so for newer people, there's like, well, you can select from these things, and then that gets the gears going. So then, yeah, and you end up with tons of new fans and tons of new players every single time we play. It's really
It
great.
was never the same. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever ran two games that I was like, man, that was the same. There was the same thing.
Never.
Every player brought new things, and that was one of the cool things, is I've been DMing / Nornings for a little over 18 years now, and yeah, that's been quite a while. And I think that when I started running cons is when I've started really learning the craft of DMing and Norning, because I saw all these Norns around me doing things that I'd never think of doing, like having an initiative tracker. There were sheets of paper hanging on their DM shields, and then ideas for plot hooks and stuff like that. And that's what's the best things about that. One of the things that I miss about cons is being around other people and just feeding off this energy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the best.
I think conventions, I just miss them in general. Just being able to see people you haven't seen in a long time. Because like obviously when you go conventions, it's people you haven't seen in a while, and you see them like every convention. You just catch up with people. So and it was good catching up with you guys too, since we
We got
haven't seen
Richard
each other.
in the chat there. He's saying
Oh
that,
yeah.
yeah, he liked the 14-hour games at GaryCon, and
It's a get away from the pitch. He's like, yeah, that's how easy it is. People literally come in and sit down. That's how easy this game is. That's how
Yeah.
he pitched it. Yeah, I remember that. He does that very, very often.
Richard,
we
I've
are-
got my plane ticket for Gamehole, so we're on. I am
Cool.
flying in, so our next con is end of October, which is
Yeah.
let me open a calendar here.
It's like the 20th or something like that. Yeah, that weekend.
20 to 20. Check here. 21 to 24th of October in Madison, Wisconsin. So we will be out there. Anyone is in the area or looking to get into a game, we will be running nonstop games. We will have a booth. Come out and check us out. That's going to be very, very fun. It's our third con of the year. But the first two cons have been mini cons in my neck of the woods. So this is like the
next step, by the way, is Fate of the Norns horn holders. Okay, because a lot of people already have their horns.
No,
but
where
you
are you
need,
gonna put this? Like,
but you need the holder for like when they put them on display, so they're not just like hanging around. Not for when they're drinking with it. The whole point of the horn is that you can't put it down.
Yeah.
I'm saying you make them, you turn everyone's cow horn mugs into Fate of the Norns mugs by just giving them the little stand.
The little stand. Genius.
Lenny the merchandiser.
Yes.
All right, so we are going towards our hour mark by going. I mean, we have passed it. It was great catching up with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. We try to keep our podcast to an hour long. Thank you guys so much for joining. As mentioned, we are going to have our podcast. We're going to be on. Actually, when this video comes out on YouTube, we might already be at the convention? ? Not sure. But if you guys want to say some socials, if you guys want to say link to some of your socials, I don't know, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you guys want. Leonard, go ahead.
Well,
I have not currently. I do have stuff coming up soon. I don't exist under other aliases
my bad.
currently. And then no, but I do have some stuff that's coming up. So if you guys have me again, maybe I'll have something more concrete.
Sounds good. Alex, you want to any socials you want to plug in there?
No, you can catch me teaching in Longueuil.
No, don't say that.
No, seriously.
No, they can't. You have more children.
If he's gonna run games at his school, like that, man, like Viking game.
Oh yeah,
guys, this hour went by so fast. It's just like boom,
man.
Always good to catch up. It's always fun. Definitely do this. Maybe we'll meet up in real life and go to a convention together. That'd be fantastic. I know it'd be a little tougher for some of us, but it'd be great. But thank you guys so much for joining. Chat. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Scold.
Gold.
Scold.